Today I'm making pickled carrots. This is something that you can eat beside a sandwich, on a charcuterie board, a lot of different ways. Anywhere you could eat a pickle, you could substitute this with your pickled carrots. All you need are a few basic ingredients that you maybe already have in your kitchen. Throw that together, make a brine, cut your carrots. Really simple. Yesterday I went to my greenhouse and pulled out all the rest of my carrots. Now I did have some help that helped with this enormous task that I had to do. I had some help pulling out these carrots. It made the job a lot easier, or at least a lot more fun. Now let's get going. The first thing that I need to do is to peel, wash, and cut up my carrots. So let's go. So I am using these wide mouth jars to can these carrots in. And I like them because if you're eating them straight from the jar, it's easy to grab them compared to the ones that are narrower at the top. So this is what I'm using. I am going to be putting these in lengths. So I'm just going to try to measure my carrots and fit them in the jar in lengths. You can also cut them in rounds if you'd like, but I just prefer to get them in lengths. Again, if we grab a bottle to go to have a picnic or bring out boating or something, we can easily grab them from the jar and eat them like that. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Now to cut them up. Now that all the carrots are cut up, I'm going to make the brine. So I am making 1.5 times the brine because there's nothing that I hate more when I'm making a recipe and I run out of brine. So I will put the ingredients in the description below. But the original recipe is for 5.5 cups of vinegar, 2 cups of sugar, 2 teaspoons of pickling salt. But I'm doing 1.5 times that. So do the math. Now we're going to bring our brine over to the stove and bring that to a boil. While I wait for my brine to come to a boil, I'm going to prepare a few jars. I'm not going to prepare everything. I don't know how many jars I really have, but it just takes a second. So to each jar, we are going to add 2 teaspoons of mustard seeds into the jar and 1 teaspoon of celery seeds. So I'm just going to do a few jars. Once your brine has come to a boil, then we're going to add all our carrots to the brine, bring it back to a boil, and cook them for about 10 minutes. About half of the time you'd normally cook your carrots, just so they soften a little bit. Now we bring this back to a boil. And beside it, I have my steam canner heating up because we will be preserving this with the steam canner. Now, because I want to put them in lengths in the bottle, the carrots, I am going to scoop them out of the hot brine and place them by hand in the bottles, kind of reevaluating my entire life existence at this point of why I did it this way. But I think the end results will be a lot more pleasant to eat than cutting them up in small pieces. So let's get started. Once you've filled your jar with your carrots, you're going to backfill that, leaving 1/2 inch headspace. Make sure to remove any bubbles. Wash the rim of the jar with water Place your cap on and your rings fingertip tight. Then transfer that over to your canner and just fill all the rest of your jars. I have ended up with 6 jars of the pickled carrots. They are in my steam canner. The steam canner is the equivalent of a water bath canner, so don't worry. If you don't have a steam canner, you can water bath can these. Just place them in a large pot and fill it up with water until you have at least 1 to 2 inches of water on top of your jar. And after that, it's the same process. You bring it to a boil and you put the timer on for 20 minutes. So this steam canner, what is really nice is that it's really fast and efficient. So we put our jars in here, turn the heat up on high. As you can see, the cover's hot. The top of the cover here has a dial gauge. So that dial gauge for me needs to be in the dark green section for my altitude, and that's when I start timing. So I just watch that dial. When it gets to the green part, I time my pot for 20 minutes. Same process as the water bath, just a lot faster. So now we bring this up to temperature. So I misread the processing time. It's actually 15 minutes for my altitude, so I'm going to turn it off. So I'm going to let this sit for another 5 minutes with the heat off before we remove them from the pot. Six perfect jars of dill pickle. Can't wait to dive into these. However, you may want to wait a couple weeks to kind of let the flavors incorporate into the carrots and really give it the full potential of flavor that it can have. So leave them untouched for a couple weeks. Now that they're on your countertop, you want to leave them untouched for 12 to 24 hours. Don't move them around. Let them settle. After the 24 hours are up, remove the ring. Don't store them with your rings on top. Be sure to store them in a dry, dark environment. They can last up to a year, maybe even longer if you can hold yourself from eating them all. Be sure to write on top what you do have in your jar and the year that you jarred it. I do hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you enjoy my content. If you do, give it a big thumbs up, subscribe, and be sure to check back again soon to see what other content I will have coming out.